What is AI SOC in 5 minutes or less? Well, it's the promise to fuse AI where it makes sense to enhance the deterministic workflows that exist inside every component of the Security Operations Center. Using AI to deliver scaled outcomes for the major SOC personas, alert triage teams, teams that prioritize vulnerabilities, intel operationalization, and of course, reporting and case management. However, just throw AI at it is a great way to burn time and tokens to deliver non deterministic outcomes. If your challenge can be solved with static workflows, it should be. In a perfect world, AI, just like your analyst, thrives on maximum context. Your analysts touch dozens of individual vendors and feeds, not just products, dozens of vendors, in the triage of an intel report or a vulnerability or an alert. And AI can help solve that multi vendor plumbing challenge the way that XDR never really did, maintaining connectors and data schemas as frameworks change. This dynamic plugging brings all the context about alerts, assets, identities, vulnerabilities, intel, and case history together into one place for either your analyst or an AI model. We've been told that being a plumber is an AI proof career, but here, plumbing really delivers AI into the SOC. Each persona should have access to all the context they need, paired with a composite AI sidecar. That means using non AI static workflows when the first set of pivots is obvious, lightweight LLM summarization when that fits the bill, and agentic investigations where the next stage of the investigation or the data is a little bit non deterministic. But if you can predict every step of an investigation, you don't need or want an AI agent. Fixed workflows should be used. And you don't need AI to decide if an analyst wants to know the history of a device or understand Entra permissions or what threat reports have talked about a domain that overlaps with yours. Those are all obvious and they should be done without being asked or configured. The analyst will always answer, yes, tell me all the things that you know. And even if AI were just an alert wrapper for Gemini or Claude, doing it for pennies or a couple of seconds is really eye opening if you've never done it before. Running a raw CrowdStrike or Extra Hop or Cortex alert through Gemini or Claude just to ask, hey, what is this thing? Does it look like a false positive? What do you think about it? It really provides a huge amount of baseline value. And you should definitely do this yourself in Python or inside an AI SOC product. But it should be the baseline of what you're doing with AI in the SOC. Investigative action should run automatically when there's minimal impact on the external source queries, and destructive or remediative actions usually require a human in the loop. But, let's be honest, when you're looking at an email or an endpoint alert or something, the analyst wants to answer the same 10 questions first. Who else got this email from the same sender or with the same attachment? Who else got an email with a different URL but the same subject? Who clicked on the link? What was happening on the endpoint that wasn't a part of the alert, part of the endpoint telemetry. So those static workflows that are obvious, they should be run first before agentic investigations. But if you want to modify the agentic investigations to run a particular KQL or CrowdStrike query, every single investigation, it should be really simple. But it really shines when you have a threat that looks like something like Mimikatz, and maybe you don't have the event ID memorized that's triggered when Mimikatz opens a handle to LSAS. An AI agent really becomes highly valuable there. It can suggest, write, run, and evaluate the query results, helping you figure out what to do next. Vulnerabilities should be dynamically prioritized based on standard frameworks like EPSS and if it's on the KEV, but also should be continually adjusted as the vulnerable asset and identity are reevaluated for risk. For example, a vulnerability score for a device should actively change if the device becomes directly exposed to the internet, and before it used to be 7 layers behind your NAT, or if unrelated alerts suddenly appear on that endpoint, or the associated identity shows up in a fresh dark web leak where the credentials are tested and validated by an agent. These things should all adjust how much you should care about a vulnerability on an asset. Your threat intel agent should ingest everything and immediately evaluate your detection posture. It needs to understand how to manage detection lists, of course, and what threats you should care about based on your region or your vertical, but it should correlate it to your active alerts. It should automate retro hunting across multiple SIM vendors, and it should automatically document every action that happened, whether or not it returned a detection. Agents should be able to report to the business the value of the feeds you're paying for. And in the end, case management wraps it all up with a clean, comprehensive AI summary based on everything that you, the platform, the workflows, the agents have done to triage the incident. The days of summarizing timelines from large Excel spreadsheets are over. And of course, you should be able to ask it to tell you a joke or help write your snort signature. You need to have that conversational aspect too.